Hi, I'm Anna. Welcome to Rohani Wellness Center. Today on our yoga tutorial, we're going to do the basic anatomic position because from that basic form, a lot of other things in the yoga practice are going to unravel from. So let's get started. So your basic anatomical position is basically standing with your palms forward. If our palms are not forward, we're basically doing this, which is orangutan kind of way of standing. So palms forward, and then you're kind of in that position. So you want to have, in order for it to be neutral, and we're talking about a general neutral, you want to have your feet in line with your hips, which is the bone, the joint between the big bone and the leg and the pelvis. So that's under your, right under your hips, you have your feet, and they're facing forward. So your middle toe and the middle of the heel, you draw two straight lines and they're facing forward. That's the general alignment, but it's actually in the line of your kneecap. So where you bend your kneecaps, you want your toes to be facing. So this is the neutral general anatomical position. But if in your case your kneecaps are facing forward, then you basically want to bend your knees and make sure that your knees are in line with your toes. There are two ways of dealing with structural misalignments, or which is actually your perfect natural form that might be different to the general alignment. So you can either work into straightening it, or you can work with the misalignment. So if your knees are naturally come forward, you could eventually through yoga bring them closer, bring them back together. But if it's structurally your shape is this way, then you don't want to force taking your toes forward and your knees are going to stay open like this. You're going to be forcing on your knees too much. So you work with you. So really is the toes are guided by the kneecaps. So when the kneecaps bend, that's the direction that your toes are going to go to. So again, this comes into every asana. So here when I bend my knee, okay, and if my knee's bending in, I can take my toes in a little bit here on the warrior too, but it's again about my general alignment, my form. So again, in the general neutral, toes are facing forward, kneecaps are facing forward. Neutral pelvis, that's another big one that we have questions about. So this is your pelvis, this big bowl right here. So you want to imagine that you have water in your pelvis and it's not spilling forward, it's not spilling back. So this was going to be tilting the pelvis forward. This would be tilting your pelvis back. So you don't want to over tuck or tilt your pelvis back too much, so the water is going to spill down this way. You also don't want to overarch your low back by tilting your pelvis forward and the water is going to spill that way. So generally speaking, your pubic bone and your iliac crests are going to be in the same vertical line here, horizontal line if you're laying down on the floor. So this is how we can also check that our pelvis is neutral. We go on the floor, and again, it's about the perception of your body. How do you feel your body on the inside, because you don't usually have a mirror or a camera in your yoga classes. So the pelvis is neutral, your pubic bone and your iliac crest are in the same horizontal line. Yes, you're going to have a curve in your low back, that is your natural curve. And you want to have your ribs pressing down into the floor. So if you keep your neutral pelvis and your ribs pressing down, you can also make sure that your spine is in your natural curve and you're not overarching by tilting the pelvis forward, and you're not overarching by taking your ribs out. So this two neutral spots right here will help you with the alignment of your back. Then from here, your shoulders are back, so you can give an external rotation of your arm, which means your palm faces up. So remember, it's not your elbow. I can do this. It's your upper arm externally rotated. Shoulders relax down. You have a natural curve in your neck too. And here, your upper teeth are perpendicular to the floor. That's kind of how you know that you have this correct alignment in your head. So you have your neutral curve in your spine, in your lower back, your neutral curve right here, and the neutral curve in your neck. And here you can relax. Another way you can get into your anatomical position, your neutral anatomical position, is using a wall. So you're going to stand on the wall, and your feet are not going to be touching the wall. So your heels are a few inches away from the floor, and that way you have space for your bum too. And here it's again neutral pelvis. So pubic bone, iliac crests in the same line. Okay, and you're relaxing into the wall. Now this is a different way of getting into it from the alignment of the head. So you want to take your upper teeth back into the wall behind you, into neutral. So again, this time your upper teeth are parallel to the floor. And from here, you let your body relax, and you're kind of hanging from that first vertebra. So here again, your pelvis is neutral, your knees are slightly bent, so you never want to hyperstretch them. That's another thing I forgot to say. Pelvis neutral, so pubic bone and iliac crests are in line. Here, it's going to be a little difficult, but try to take your ribs in. So the usual thing that's going to happen, because your chest is usually closed from all of this that we do, is we are going to have a tendency to take the ribs in, and our shoulders are going to come forward. So what you want to do is take the ribs in. It's okay. Now you know you need to stretch your shoulders. So take your shoulders back, and notice if you take your shoulders back and your ribs lift, then we need to do some shoulder openers for you to get back into your optimal blueprint in your standing. So your standing can be with your ribs in and your shoulders back, without necessarily arching your back to take your shoulders back or hunching forward. So we do a lot of these chest openers, shoulders openers, for you to be able to stand straight. Again, neutral pelvis, ribs in, shoulders back. If you're really flexible, you may even feel how pressing your ribs in this position is going to really engage your core, which is a good thing. So now you're balancing on the atlas, the first vertebra. Your upper teeth are parallel to the floor. Pelvis neutral, ribs in, shoulders back, and then you take a step forward. And this is your neutral anatomical position. I hope this serves you. Again, this is useful to yoga because we're gonna be using a lot of the asanas and the principles. They correspond to these basic things. So this may actually help you a lot. If you're a beginner, try it out and start by feeling your body. So the whole idea of finding your neutral spine is so that you can feel it. You can feel it on the floor, using the mirror, and then you can even maybe perhaps feel it through a whole vinyasa class. Where's your neutral spine? So it's again the perception of your body from the inside out. So you want to be able to know where your spine is and if it's neutral in almost any position. So this is just an example of many interesting things that come through the practice of yoga. Again, I'm Anna. We're at Rouhani Wellness Center. Have a great day and use these principles in your practice.